is Sunday Live with Jim.
A very good evening to you. Welcome to Citizen Sunday Live. And tonight we will be delving into matters COMESA. As a founding member, what does Kenya have to show for it 30 years on? We'll be joined by the Principal Secretary for Trade, and that is Regina Ombam. And among the questions we'll be asking her is, how do we take advantage of the tripartite free trade area agreement? So do share your thoughts. The hashtag is Citizen Sunday Live. The X handles are at O Burrows at Citizen TV Kenya, and the SMS line is 22422. They will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen throughout the news hour. Let's get into the highlights.
Tunaambia Mudavadi, the backstop with him. Tunaambia bunge letu la Kenya, they must intervene. We want Bob Njagi arudi haraka iwezekanavyo akiwa safe.
5 days on. Families and activists pressure Uganda to release Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo, who were abducted in Kampala. Raila is well. Raila Secretariat dismisses ill health claims, confirms he is abroad on a routine trip.
Hapa katikati sisi kama viongozi ndio tumeharibu nchi na siasa duni ya chuki na ukabila na migawanyiko na maono fupi na maono ambayo hayana maana.
Politicians to blame. President Ruto accuses fellow politicians of stalling Kenya's dream of prosperity. Kenya joins the world in honoring teachers as educators renew calls for a private medical cover independent of SHA. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Yula Nzale. Tonight, we begin with the developing story of the abduction of Kenyan activists Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo in Kampala, Uganda. 5 days after their disappearance, Ugandan authorities have yet to reveal their whereabouts, despite formal requests from Kenyan officials. In Mombasa, activists are describing the silence as deafening and are urging Parliament and members of the East African Legislative Assembly to intervene. Meanwhile, in Kampala, a team of lawyers is preparing to file a habeas corpus on Monday to force authorities to produce the two who had traveled to Uganda to support opposition presidential candidate Bobi Wine. Gatete Njoroge has more.
5 days after their daring abduction in broad daylight in Kireka, Kampala, the whereabouts of Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo remain a mystery. This despite mounting pressure from human rights organizations, the Law Society of Kenya, and interventions from Kenyan government officials. A letter shared by Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Korir Sing'oei on his X account Friday evening indicated that Kenya's mission in Uganda was engaging authorities to gather information that could guide efforts to secure the duo's release. The PS assured that updates would be provided as soon as they became available. But 3 days later, silence lingers. No new details have emerged, and the ministry has remained quiet.
Afrika moja, Afrika huru. Afrika huru.
A silence that activists warn should worry all Kenyans, as they call on leaders to raise their voices and press for the safe return of the two.
Tunaambia Mudavadi, the backstop with him. Tunaambia bunge letu la Kenya, they must intervene. We want Bob Njagi arudi haraka iwezekanavyo akiwa safe. Vile vile tumeona kumekuwa na illegal rendition. Wakenya wakichukuliwa hapa hata 2010, Wakenya wakipelekwa Uganda na serikali iko pale.
We are calling upon our comrades and the citizens of Uganda to make sure that you sustain the pressure on your government until our comrades are released.
Should there be any offense or allegations of any offense against them, let those Kenyans be tried in Kenya. We have no trust in the justice process of Uganda, given how they have handled the case of Besigye.
Oyo's sister Benta Ochieng, in an emotional post on her Facebook page, says the ordeal has left the family heartbroken and sleepless. She describes her brother as a selfless man who always sacrifices for others and holds on to hope that he will soon return home safely. Meanwhile, a group of Ugandan lawyers is on Monday expected to file a habeas corpus application before the High Court's Civil Division in Kampala, seeking to compel authorities to produce the two missing Kenyans. Njagi and Oyo had traveled to Uganda to support NUP presidential candidate Bobi Wine ahead of the 2026 elections.
Viva, viva Bob Njagi.
Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Viva
The Raila Odinga Secretariat has refuted claims that he is in poor health. The party says that Raila has not shied away from disclosing his health status in the past and will continue to do so. The Secretariat further says that Raila's travel outside Kenya on Friday was routine and not as a result of a medical or health issue. The Secretariat also faulted the opposition, including Wiper Patriotic Front leader Kalonzo Musyoka, for spreading what it says is false and misleading information about Raila Odinga's health. In a rejoinder, however, the Wiper party defended Musyoka from those allegations and accused ODM of unfairly targeting the former vice president and former running mate. President William Ruto has once again called out the political class for failing to set Kenya on the path to prosperity. Speaking in Meru County, the president accused the political elite of holding back the country's progress. And with low turnout among the youth in the ongoing voter registration exercise, Ruto urged young people to register, saying they hold the key to good governance. Ayub Abdikadir with that report.
His broad brush blame of the political class continued in Meru County. During a church service at St. Mary's African Independent Pentecostal Church of Africa in Igembe Central, the president collectively condemned the political class for laying hurdles all over, which according to him killed post-independence dream of development and progress.
Hapa katikati, sisi kama viongozi ndio tumeharibu nchi na siasa duni ya chuki na ukabila na migawanyiko na maono fupi na maono ambayo hana maana. We need to raise our game as the people of Kenya.
Pained by low voter registration drive, the president threw the ball the youth's way, whose anti-tax demonstrations stung his administration in 2024, striking a persuasive tone.
Vijana wetu muko na nafasi ya kuchukua kura ndio muamue uongozi wa taifa letu tukienda mbele.
Dr. Ruto thereafter attached a reminder.
Lakini mjue hivi, hiyo kura ni 2027. Ama mnafikiri kura ni siku gani? Si ni 2027? Tuko 2020 what? Saa hii tuko 20? Sasa sikizeni.
Taking on the opposition, the president said the outfit lacks coherent policies to sell the public, accusing it of advancing ulterior motives.
Hawasemi barabara, hawasemi stima, hawasemi vijana wapate kazi, hawasemi chochote. Kazi yao tu ni hewa, kuongea mambo ya bure. Na hivyo ndio vyo Kenya imechelewa. Nchi zingine imepiga hatua ya kwenda mbele.
And therefore we want to thank the church for being partners with the government, not only in the spiritual nourishment of our people, not only in the stability of our families, but also in the economic progress of the people of Kenya and the communities and families of Kenya.
The church service also offered the president to drum up support for his pet programs. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
3 people have died and several others are hospitalized following a cholera outbreak in Narok County. The County Health CC, Lucy Kashu, says at least 35 people have been exposed to the disease, warning the number could rise if urgent measures are not taken. Areas already red flagged include Shankoe, Kilgoris and parts of Transmara. Health officials have dispatched a team of experts to the affected zones tasked with using available resources to contain the outbreak.
Tunaendelea kuhimiza community zetu kwa hizo wodi tatu waendelee kuimarisha afya katika jamii zao kwa kubaki wasafi wakati wowote, kunawa mikono na hata wakiwa wagonjwa waweze kwenda hospitali ili waweze kupata matibabu.
Kusaidia wale ambao wameathirika na wako kwa wards, kwa madawa na yale kemikali ambayo yanahitajika kwa usafi.
17-year-old Vincent Kaluma, who recently created a buzz on social media platform TikTok, has been offered a full scholarship at East African University, where he will pursue a course in sales and marketing. The announcement was made at the JCM Church in Ruiru on Sunday, where TikTokers in their numbers joined the service and raised 2 million shillings in support of the family. Laura Otieno now reports on the journey to fortune for Kaluma Boy, who warmed the hearts of many by caring for his ailing father.
I'll be alright. I'ma be alright. Tell me say you're leaving, you tell me say you're leaving.
About 3 weeks ago, these videos were exclusive to those who use TikTok. Kaluma Boy, as he is popularly known, had been sharing this kind of content, showing his ailing father and instances where he had to do odd jobs to make ends meet. On Sunday, however, the JCM Church in Ruiru was full. Donning the Kenyan flag, young Kenyans in their numbers showed up in solidarity with Kaluma Boy.
Huku juu ya Kaluma Boy na pia tumekuja huku bado tukuje huku JCM ndio tukiingia huko church Thanksgiving tuombewe hata tuzuia hata Mungu azuia hata ajali kwa barabara. Ndio sasa hivyo.
A sum of 2 million shillings was raised. The funds will be used to set up a business for Kaluma's mother to enable the family foot medical expenses as well as general upkeep. Further, East African University Vice Chancellor Dr. Christopher Mutembei also offered a full scholarship to Kaluma to pursue a course in sales and marketing. From the quiet village in Othaya, Nyeri County, Kaluma, with his phone, rallied the good of social media. His relentless hard work finally paying off, opening the doors of good fortune for him and his family. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
Former Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i and former Chief Justice David Maraga have hinted at joining forces with other opposition leaders ahead of the 2027 general election. The two, speaking separately, warned that the country is headed in the wrong direction and insisted that only a united opposition can keep Kenya Kwanza to a single term. With more is Crispin Otieno.
In what seems to be a well-calculated move to join forces in the opposition, former Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i now says he will ensure that the united opposition outfit remains intact despite divergent opinion amongst the principals.
Mwanzo inakuanga namna hiyo. Tunapangana. Na sasa tukipangana namna hii tutakuwa pamoja kwa sababu tunajua wananchi wa Kenya vile mmesema nyinyi wenyewe na vile hawa viongozi wamesema wanataka tafadhali sisi sote tuwe pamoja. Na ninawahakikishia sababu nimezungumza na wengi wenzangu katika upinzani. Tunazungumza.
In the lakeside city of Kisumu, Chief Justice Emeritus David Maraga for the first time expressed his willingness to join the larger opposition outfit with the sole aim to push Kenya Kwanza out of power.
Tutafanya kazi na wale ambao watakuwa na ile vision yetu. Yule mtu ambaye atataka kutekeleza katiba, niko tayari kufanya kazi na yeye. Yule mtu ambaye atakemea corruption na hataki pesa ya serikali ibiwe, niko tayari kufanya na yeye. Tuko tayari kufanya na yeye sababu hiyo ndio mimi nimesimamia na ndio mimi nataka kutekeleza.
The two leaders called on the youth and Kenyans from all walks of lives to turn up in large numbers and register as voters.
Lakini kama utachukua kura, uwezi kusaidia mtu ama namna gani? Wewe ni yule kama President Kibaki alikuwa anasema wewe ni bure kabisa. Kura ndio msema kweli sasa. Tafadhali ninawaomba ndugu zangu na dada, chukueni kura, go and register to vote.
Tarehe 2027 kama una kura ni kuzungumza tu bure na itasaidia mtu. Kwa hivyo vijana na hata wale ambao wamepoteza kura, tafadhali rudi mujiandikishe kwa wingi ili wakati kura inakuja kila mtu awe na kura na kupiga.
Crispin Otieno, Citizen TV.
The kingdom of God.
The Kenya Pharmaceutical Distributors Association is tonight raising the alarm over a looming shortage of essential medicines. The association claims that while preparing for a World Health Organization audit, the Pharmacy and Poisons Board reconfigured its portal, inadvertently blocking access to more than 21,000 essential drugs. But as Mary Moki reports, the board has dismissed those claims, assuring Kenyans of uninterrupted access to life-saving medicines.
In a strongly worded statement, the Kenya Pharmaceutical Distributors Association has warned that pharmacy shelves across the country could run empty in just 2 weeks. The association says the Pharmacy and Poisons Board's recent reconfiguration of its importation portal, part of Kenya's push for maturity level 3 status and compliance with WHO standards, has inadvertently locked out more than 21,000 essential medicines. While the changes were meant to enhance oversight, distributors argue the results have been counterproductive, threatening access to life-saving drugs. Among those affected are over 1.5 million diabetics who need insulin, more than 2 million hypertensive patients, and at least 1.4 million Kenyans on HIV treatment. Cancer patients already grappling with high costs could also face dire consequences. The association warns that chemotherapy and supportive drugs are already expensive and scarcity will worsen mortality. However, a statement sent to newsrooms by the Poisons and Pharmacy Board refutes this claim, saying, and I quote, "Contrary to these falsehoods, there's no blockade of medicines in Kenya. The board has duly retained approximately 9,000 registered medical products that meet national and international safety standards, efficacy and quality. These products remain available for local manufacture, importation and distribution." Kenya is under review by the World Health Organization in a regulatory audit aimed at determining if the country can attain maturity level 3 status. That level is recognized by WHO as a mark of stable and well-functioning regulatory authority, one capable of guaranteeing that all medicines entering the market are safe, effective, and of high quality. Mary Moki, Citizen TV.
On to matters education now, and Kenya is on the brink of a historic moment in its education journey as grade 9 learners, and that is the pioneer class under the competency-based curriculum, prepare to transition to senior school. The shift set for January comes with major changes in how students will be placed in secondary institutions. Brenda Wanga reports on what lies ahead.
Jointly, we have to ensure that the administration of examinations and assessments strictly adhere to the established rules and regulations.
In just under 3 weeks, the first cohort of the CBE learners will be taking the first and key assessment that will determine not just the senior schools that they will join in January next year, but also set them firmly on their chosen career paths. The Kenya Junior School Education Assessment will also mark the culmination of a journey that began in January 2017, when the government introduced CBC, now named CBE, to replace the 844 system. Unlike the 844 system that placed learners in high schools based purely on their academic performance in the national examinations, this time round, learners' academic and competencies will be considered throughout their junior school period. According to the Kenya National Examination Council, the grades will comprise of 20% from the KPSEA assessment, 20% from the school-based assessments in grade 7 and 8, which evaluate learners' progress in a variety of learning areas and practical activities, and the rest, 60%, from the summative evaluation at the end of grade 9 KJSEM.
Blueprint that will be used.
The combination of these two components is expected to ensure a holistic evaluation of each learner's academic growth, skills, and potential. CBE also takes a different approach to grading learners' performance in the assessment, unlike the 844 system that saw learners evaluated using grades A to E. The CBE assessment looks at the learners from the lens of the new grading system. Learners will be graded as either having exceeded expectations, meeting expectations, approaching expectation, and performing below expectation. The CBE system has also done away with the traditional categorization of schools. Instead, learners will be placed in senior schools depending on the career pathway they qualify for and the capacity of schools to support that pathway in terms of infrastructure and staffing. Learners have already made their choice of 12 schools for placement consideration. Out of the 12 schools, 7 are based on the first choice pathway, 3 for the second choice pathway, while the third pathway choice has 2 schools. The ministry says that placement will be based on merit, based on their choice and performance in KJSEM, the choice of schools and pathways, the quota system that ensures regional distribution and balancing between public and private school candidates. However, special provisions will apply where top 2 learners per gender in STEM per sub-county will be placed in boarding schools of their choice, while learners with special needs who will achieve highly will be placed in senior schools that best suits their strengths. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
Teachers across the country have rejected being enlisted on the social health insurance cover and instead called on the government to provide them with a private health insurance cover. Speaking during World Teachers' Day celebrations, junior secondary school teachers also pushed on with their demand for autonomy and recognition separate from primary school teachers. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba, who presided over the ceremony, promised that the government will employ 24,000 new teachers by the end of this year to address teacher shortage. Willie Lusige has more.
Teachers from across the country converged at the Kasarani Stadium to mark World Teachers' Day. Teachers outlined the challenges they continue to face, including work overload occasioned by shortages of teachers, delayed funding, and plans by the government not to procure a private health insurance cover for the teaching fraternity.
Tunataka kutolewa ile minet tupelekwe kwa SHA. Hatutaki, tumekataa katakata kuingia SHA. Sababu ni hii, kuna majirani na watu wengi sana ambao wamesajiliwa katika huo mfumo wa SHA na bado wanapata shida.
Hii agenda ya medical coverage ikuwe open tender, kila insurance company yenye inaweza offer walimu a good comprehensive cover ipewe a fair chance.
Even as they demanded for better working conditions, junior secondary school teachers continued with their push for professional independence and recognition.
We have the challenge of medical cover. We shall sit down and discuss, and we shall get a solution. Today we have the challenge of the JSS demanding the autonomy. We have taken the correct steps of writing to the Commission and government so that matter can be brought on table for discussion.
The government says it has already started addressing teachers' challenges, including shortages and poor infrastructure.
A further 24,000 teachers are to be employed by January 2026.
Ogamba also assured that delayed capitation to schools will soon be a thing of the past, with the government committing to timely funding once verification of schools and learners is complete.
We are undertaking a comprehensive verification exercise to ascertain the actual number of schools and learners at the basic education level across the country. The verification exercise, ladies and gentlemen, is nearing completion, and we should receive a comprehensive report within the next 10 days. Challenges, for example, that we get in capitation, they arise from the challenges of not knowing the exact numbers that we have.
As the world marks the Teachers' Day, the government has pledged to end the long-lasting junior secondary school teachers' autonomy dispute, to restore back dignity into the teaching profession, and at the same time end the long standoff with the primary school teachers. Willie Lusige, Citizen TV at Kasarani.
All right, we transition from matters education into matters COMESA, and on the other side of this break, I will be joined by the Principal Secretary for Trade, her name Regina Ombam. Stay tuned. Years of trade partnership. 21 countries gather in Nairobi for the COMESA summit. Welcome back to Citizen Sunday Live. Do remember you can talk to us at Citizen TV Kenya, at Obaros at the X handles. The hashtag is Citizen Sunday Live, and the SMS line is 22422. Kenya will starting tomorrow host the 24th COMESA Summit and meetings. Africa's biggest economic community will see the participation of all the 21 member states. Top on the agenda will be removal of all existing trade barriers, diplomacy, peace and security. Ayub Abdikadir reports on the Nairobi Summit, which comes against the backdrop of trade tariffs that have disrupted global trade.
Last-minute preparations at the Kenyatta International Convention Center will set the foundation for the COMESA Heads of State and Government Summit, an event set to lay emphasis on e-commerce, a trade system meant to ease the movement of people and goods within the 21 member states' free trade area. Monday marks the first of the four-day summit, and will see a meeting between the European Union horticulture dealers and the Kenyan sector players, tailor solutions to the challenges facing the sector. While the second day will be dominated by high-level discussions, roundtables and policy dialogues, the third day will feature the 20th meeting of foreign affairs ministers from COMESA, who will discuss peace and security within the COMESA region, insecurity in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo and the Horn of Africa region, as well as deepening state of democracy in the region likely to make up the discussion. The summit also comes at a time when trade tariffs have dominated Donald Trump's second term, with Africa taking a significant hit.
We should not be afraid of what others are doing with their market. We should be the one to work together as the African continent to dictate our own market and to grow our market so that we can grow investment in our region, so that we can create wealth and create employment. So they will be looking at that paper.
And the core agenda of this meeting is to look at obstacles to trade within the region and also to address emerging issues, including the current international issues that affect the continent.
The Heads of State and Government Summit on Thursday, which will be officiated by President William Ruto, will adopt COMESA Business Declaration, review progress of regional integration programs, endorse strategies to deepen digital trade, discuss peace and security, and strengthen partnership with the African Union and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, among other global partners.
The summit will be looking at various reports. First, they will be looking at the report of the Ministers of Foreign Affairs on the state of peace, security, and governance. They will also be looking at the report of the Council of Ministers that met last year in November in Lusaka.
Kenya will assume the role of chairperson, with President Ruto taking office, while Zimbabwe will serve as the vice chairperson in readiness for hosting next year's summit in Harare, and Burundi will become rapporteur, having hosted the 23rd summit in Bujumbura. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
All right, let's refresh our memories on the subject of COMESA. And COMESA was established in December of 1994. And COMESA stands for the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa. And because it was established in 1994, December of 1994, it has therefore been around for 30 years. It was, however, formed to replace the preferential trade area, which existed from 1981. Now, as Kenya hosts the 24th COMESA Summit and meetings from Monday and prepares to take over the chairmanship of the COMESA Authority from Burundi at the Summit of Heads of State and Government on Thursday, let us also reacquaint ourselves with the COMESA mission and role. The priorities for COMESA are a free trade area as well as a customs union and trade promotion. All right, let's also take a look at apart from what they prioritize, the programs that enable the free trade common, the customs union. We have the infrastructure development, agriculture, industry and private sector development, trade and customs services, gender and social affairs as their priorities. But they also have several pillars, and those pillars are market integration, physical integration, which has to do with connectivity, productive integration, which has to do everything with agriculture, gender and social integration to accommodate the youth as well as women. So let's take a look at the reach of COMESA. COMESA has a population of about 640 million, and it covers about 2/3 of the African continent. We have mentioned that there are 21 member states, and it is headquartered in Lusaka, Zambia. So you can just see on the next slide just how far COMESA goes. It is the largest free trade area, as Ayub Abdikadir highlighted in his report. Their institutions include the COMESA Court of Justice, Trade and Development Bank, the African Trade and Investment Development Insurance, COMESA Competitions Commission, the COMESA Business Council. Just yesterday, we were told by the Cabinet Secretary for Trade that Kenya paid off a syndicated loan from the Trade and Development Bank. The other institutions are the COMESA Monetary Institute, based in Kenya, Alliance for Commodity Trade in Eastern and Southern Africa, the COMESA Clearinghouse, the Regional Association of Energy Regulators for Eastern and Southern Africa. And the list does go on, because we also have the Regional Investment Agency, the Africa Leather and Leather Products Institute, ZEPRI, and the COMESA Federation of Women in Business. And there you go. How far COMESA covers. We have Burundi, Comoros, who are members, DRC, Djibouti, Egypt, Eswatini, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Libya. In fact, at the very top of that map, we have Tunisia, and then we have Eswatini at the bottom. So in total, 21 member states: Madagascar, Malawi, Mauritius, Rwanda, Seychelles, Somalia, Sudan, Tunisia, Uganda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And I'm sure you can tell that was arranged in alphabetical order. I did mention that we would be joined by the Principal Secretary for Trade. Her name, Regina Ombam. Karibu sana. To the Citizen studio. My first question to you is this. So Kenya was one of the founding members of COMESA. 30 years on, what have we gotten out of it?
Thank you, Olive. Kenya, as one of the founding members of COMESA, has actually benefited immensely from the regional bloc. This is because Kenya already has a big market share in COMESA, which is around 16%. Kenya, in terms of earnings from COMESA, is almost getting to $3 billion. That means we are able to trade with our COMESA member states quite well because of the zero tariffs among us. Again, because of that huge market access, Kenya has been able, therefore, to diversify its products so that it becomes more competitive. Recently, we're already seeing the level of information among Kenyans on what COMESA is and how important it is to us. And so we are seeing more of our exporters, more of our producers, including even the small-scale enterprises, really getting into the mix around trading within the COMESA region and beyond.
All right. So I'm a farmer in Trans Nzoia. My product is maize. I'm a tea farmer in central Kenya. And how does because you mentioned the small and medium-sized enterprises looking to benefit from COMESA. How about, you know, the guy who is farming maize or korosho, you know, how do they benefit from COMESA?
So, Olive, the whole issue of regional cooperation is that when you integrate as different countries and come together, you become a huge market in itself. So principally, you look at yourself, if you are left protected within your domestic setting and you didn't know about this other market that is there, then your trading would be domiciled within that domestic setting. Now, what we are doing under COMESA and through that regional integration, we are making sure that there are no barriers to trade within the member states of COMESA. So that farmer in Kitale who's growing maize, or that farmer who's growing korosho, as you said, is now made aware that that korosho can actually be sold beyond the boundaries of Kenya, and they can be able to fetch more competitive prices. At the same time, we are also equipping them with the necessary information so that they fully understand what the market is asking for at that level. So if it is issues to do with agricultural products, how do we make them competitive? Do they meet the sanitary conditions that are in place so that their products become competitive? We also work around ensuring that the farmers understand all the things that are, all the tools that are in place to ease doing business. So if it is an electronic certificate of origin that is required, we make them aware of that so that it makes it easier for them to move their product from one place to another. If there are issues to do with visa requirements, if that is not needed, we make them aware. So that farmer in Kitale, that farmer who's growing that korosho at the coast region, has full information of what the market expects them to do, and then now thinks beyond just doing that domestic kind of trading, and now thinks even bigger in terms of a bigger market access for them.
So there is sensitization that happens?
There is sensitization that happens.
All right, so we've talked about 21 member states, but there has been published the tripartite FTA. So we have EAC, we have SADC under that agreement, which I had also informed heavily AfCFTA. So as a member of COMESA, as Kenya, what markets can we access under the FTA? Is it 16 or all 21? So
principally, I think I would like to make it very clear here is that when the AfCFTA issue came into being discussed at COMESA level, it was actually looking at having a free trade area for the entire African continent. So that's when we have the African Continental Free Trade Area. But the tripartite is actually getting the EAC, the SADC, and the COMESA countries to now form a tripartite market that brings together EAC, SADC, and COMESA. Note that there are some members who are members of EAC and they're not members of COMESA. They're members of SADC and they're not members of EAC, neither are they members of COMESA. So now here is a case where we're actually looking at because these are actually economic blocks in themselves, and they are trading economic blocks in themselves. So you can imagine we want to get to Africa. So we are now saying, why don't we have a tripartite agreement that brings in EAC, SADC, COMESA as one big trading block in itself? See how the rigors around that market gets to be opened up for those three regional blocks. That's eventually culminates into getting the entire African continent coming together. So I am already seeing a vision, if this tripartite works outright the way we've conceptualized it, with time we will be talking about now expanding it to ECAS, to ECOWAS, to the northern part, and then eventually now the African Free Trade Area will just work seamlessly to ensure that the African market becomes big, and intra-Africa trade just prospers as our dream has been.
Okay, but how many countries can we access under the COMESA FTA?
So under COMESA, we are 21 countries. So as Kenya, we can actually access, because all members of COMESA get to enjoy the privileges that come with either restricted tariffs or zero tariffs in themselves. So we can access all the 21. Now you can imagine if we now get to tripartite, already we are members of EAC, now we are not members of SADC, but now tripartite brings COMESA, SADC and us. Now again, we are able now to access a bigger market share in that. And that really helps trade grow immensely.
All right, so under EAC, it's also a customs union. So there are trade agreements in place under EAC, there are trade agreements in place under COMESA. Is there usually competition between the two?
Not really. There's really no competition between the two. There are protocols that are under EAC that are followed by we call ourselves their partner states, and those protocols are very clear around the EAC and what the EAC expects to be. Under COMESA, we also have the same protocols that are followed under it. So what we're actually looking at is the broader picture. If we now want to get to Africa as a free trading area, what we need to do first is harmonize what we have between the EAC, the COMESA, the SADC. If we're able to do that harmonization well, then we can actually see ourselves grow into harmonizing what we need to do for the African continent. You will agree with me, we are all different countries with our own sovereignties in our own way. But here we are saying now, even though we are different, there are some commonalities we have to put across so that we come together as a continent to trade more stronger, more effectively. And some of the things we really have to take into account is things that people overlook: security, peace, cost of doing business, cost of transport. All these critical enablers, we really need to take them into account so that we allow for that free movement of goods and services as we've envisioned in terms of really enhancing trade.
All right. You've talked about sovereignty and there was a time where sugar farmers are concerned about cheaper imports of sugar from COMESA and felt that this was competition for them. How do you balance the interests of your nationals vis-a-vis your commitments? Because as much as we can access these markets and the commodities can also access our market. How do you balance the two?
So I think here we need to really be clear around what we are putting across as first protectionist measures to help maybe our nascent and infant industries to grow. And once they grow to a level where they are able to compete, then you can open up that market for the bigger market that we are talking about. What, in the case of sugar, as usual, when you now open up a market for more trade to happen, there will be those who will always come out to say, you know, this is hurting us, and so we would want to see protection coming into play. But we have to look at the critical factors around what is the bigger picture around this. So if we protect and we are not able to make that in terms of investment and in terms of returns on our trade, we have to look at that balance so that there's a win-win situation at the end of the day. So principally what I'm trying to say here is when industries are still young and nascent and growing, there's every reason to push in for protectionism. But as industries grow, they also have to grow and be able to trade with other industries and other economies out there. So as we see the strength of an economy in terms of growth, then it also helps in terms of expansion when you open it up to other markets. So the noise that, for lack of a better word, the noise that is made around when this happens, it's going to actually disfavor us. It's actually a noise that is really unwanted because what should happen in such a case is that once we realize that the industry is growing, for it to be able to export and be able to be competitive, we have to get a market for whatever we are producing. Because if we continue protecting and we are growing and we are not able to export out there, then we will have a situation of a glut and we have nowhere to export our work. Simple example, a case of agriculture where, because of diversification and being able to open up markets and being able to export perishables within a very short period of time, we have actually seen the agriculture sector grow immensely, because now we don't have a situation where we have wastage since our farmers don't know where to take their products. And we have a scenario where we have now opened up the markets for them, and now they're able to even export within a specified period of time, get to the market where people are saying they can eat from the farm to the table on the same day. And this actually just opens up development and livelihoods in a very positive manner.
All right. It's interesting when you talk about agriculture, because we've seen globally a trend towards protectionism, and there are those who argue, such as the Secretary General for COMESA, that now we need to look at ourselves. But part of the challenges that have been identified are, one, poor productivity and connectivity. How are you addressing this as member states?
So as member states, that's why we really have the heads of state and government summit coming into being, because even the heads of states and governments have realized the value add that trade brings to an economy. And so with the changing global landscape in trade, Africa is now, and COMESA member states are actually thinking of how do we get our intra-Africa trade to grow to that level where we actually see ourselves competitive. If you look at us like Kenya, for example, our biggest trading partner is actually Uganda and Tanzania. So if we are able actually to make sure our markets work out right within ourselves, then that market share and what we benefit from trade is actually going to be enormous. So if we are actually looking at ways of bringing in digital technology to help us improve our trade within the region, those are the key discussions that we are going to have during the COMESA summit. If we are looking at things to do like the clean energy and energy saving ways of production as additional ways of helping to reduce the cost of production, those are big areas that, if we actually focus on, we can actually change the way we do trade in the region. There are things like infrastructure development, just ensuring that we have efficient road network, our railway line is working just right, our port systems are working right, and our borders are actually well facilitating trade in themselves. These are areas I'm sure the heads of states and governments will really focus on to actually help improve the intra-Africa trade that we're already seeing. We are not tapping into it the way we should.
All right. When we talk about digitization or digitalization, which is the theme of the summit, I saw that Kenya launched 3 days ago the electronic certificate of origin. So what are the implications of that?
So, Olive, this is a very smart way of actually getting to do business. We're actually moving away from the cumbersome way of having to fill a lot of forms when you're moving your goods from one country to another. So with an electronic certificate of origin, it is so easy to electronically get to know where the goods are coming from and where they're destined to. So instead of having all these stops along the way, because that wastes a lot of time in itself, and in trade, time is money in itself, that is actually going to be a game changer in the way people trade, because now there'll be a lot of ease in terms of movement. We are now in the 21st century where trading is not just the mere fact of moving goods from point A to B. There are all these parameters you have to look into. How consistent am I? If I'm being asked for 100,000 biro pens over a 5-year period of time, am I ensuring that 100,000 is given every 5 years? Because if I'm not able to, then I become I don't become competitive anymore, because those are some of the consistency around trade are some of the factors that the modern times people are looking at when it comes to trade. The efficiency, how fast the product is reaching is another key factor that is being looked at. And the way even you package your product and all these other factors of even how your product was grown, were you using child labor to grow your product? That is something that can make the market say, we are not accepting your product. So that change is what this kind of digitalization is really helping to empower the producers and everybody in that ecosystem to be able to trade seamlessly and efficiently and be able to deliver on time and be able to get a reward for the positive impact of trade in terms of the impact on their livelihood and also impact on their production and every other thing that goes towards the positivity of trading effectively.
All right. Is there a scenario where, because in Kenya sometimes we've seen farmers say we will no longer produce macadamia, for instance, because it's not profitable anymore. We've seen tea or coffee farmers threaten to cut down their crop, saying, it's not profitable anymore. I'd rather plant something else. Is a scenario where member states can focus on what they produce based on, we can produce this best because we have the best conditions for this? Is that one of the considerations, as opposed to creating that competitiveness over the same produce?
You're very right, Olive, and that's what we are actually looking at in this whole ecosystem around trade. Even having some agreements that mutually recognize products, so within the region. So if we are having those mutual recognition agreements where we're actually saying it doesn't really need, if I'm moving my tea from Burundi to the port of Mombasa, once it's been checked with the Bureau of Standards of Burundi, there is no need of it again being checked by the Bureau of Standards of Kenya. So through that mutual agreement, you allow for goods to move freely without, again, subjecting the producer to all sorts of things. So these are the kind of information that we need to get our farmers aware, because sometimes somebody gets dejected. They're like, I won't continue growing this tea because once I get it to this country, again, it has to go through all those motions, and this is just too much for me. The other thing that I think we really need to do very much in terms of sensitizing our farmers is actually getting them to know what the market is asking for, so that that farmer who's producing macadamia fully understands that if I'm getting this macadamia, say, to Europe, these are the standards that Europe has set, so that I grow my macadamia knowing very well that when it is going to get to Europe, it will not be rejected because it has met all the standards that the European market asks for. I think the biggest undoing we've done is not to get our farmers aware of what that market is asking for, so that when they are growing, they know I'm growing this, I've done everything that goes to it with it, so that when I'm sending it out, it is a clean deal for me. And that is something we really, really need to get our farmers to understand, because somebody gets dejected. You go, you tell them there's a need for macadamia, there's a big market for it. They get excited about it. They go grow their macadamia. They already done their mathematics. They know what they're going to get. Then they get it to the market. They're told, no, it can't sell, and they wonder why. So that piece of information is something that we really need to get the public to understand, to know, so that they go into that business with full information.
All right. Lastly, in a minute or so, Kenya is taking over the chairmanship of the COMESA authority. What does that imply? Does it mean that we set the agenda for COMESA in the next year, or?
Principally, when you take chairmanship, you basically you're setting the agenda for it. And in the last COMESA meeting. There were key issues that came up, issues to do with digital technology, issues to do with market access, issues to do with industrialization. So Kenya is actually taking on the chairmanship at a time when already Kenya is a pace setter in quite a number of things. And I am really proud of what the drive and the vision of what His Excellency, our President, has for this country. We are the Silicon Savannah of the African continent. When it comes to digital technology, we are way ahead. So Kenya is taking up that chairmanship and therefore will be able to even guide more when it comes to digital matters. We are the first country that I think in the region that has already pronounced that, you know, for all African states coming into the country, it's a visa-free. That's already an indication that we're already looking into that free movement of people within the continent. We are one country that has really embraced issues to do with energy and climate resilient agriculture, mining, tourism. And these are some of the key issues that are now will be discussed once Kenya takes on the chairmanship. So already we feel we are ready, and I know with the leadership of our president taking on COMESA chairmanship, I think the transformation that we want to see within COMESA and beyond is actually going to happen.
All right, thank you for speaking to us. That is the Principal Secretary for Trade, Regina Ombam. Tomorrow there is an EU horticultural meeting, the day after a business forum. After that, the ministerial summit on peace and security, and followed by the heads of state and government summit. We take a break, but Citizen Sunday Live continues on the other side. From waste to wealth. How a 73-year-old grandmother in Kisumu is turning fish waste into ornaments on Citizen Planet. Thank you for staying with us on Citizen Sunday Live. A deadly cultural practice among sections of the Kamba community believed to ease teething in infants has left a trail of tragedy in Makueni County, with several children losing their lives. For generations, gum cutting was carried out under the belief that it hastened the sprouting of milk teeth and relieved symptoms such as fever, diarrhea, and vomiting, often wrongly linked to teething. As our health reporter Emily Chebet reports, the Makueni County government is now considering a law to curb this practice, which has already claimed the lives of hundreds of children.
Here in Kithiaka village, Makueni, we meet Regina Kimondio, once a respected gum cutter, now racked in guilt and regret as she recalls how a decision to advise her daughter-in-law ended in tragedy, costing her grandchild's life.
Akashikwa na kuhara na kutapika. Huyo mtoto akaona ni kama ako na shida ya meno. Akachukua ile inaitwa Ashton na Sodamid. Akasukua meno. Wakati alimsukua meno, huyo mtoto alikuwa seriously mgonjwa.
For decades, gum cutting was seen as a remedy for teething issues in children, but health experts warn that the crude procedure carried out with razor blades, bicycle spokes, thorns, or even nails exposes infants to severe infections, excessive bleeding, and sometimes death.
Kitambo wakati nilikuwa nazaa mimi, nilikuwa natoboa meno. Unachukua yati, unatoboa na unasugua kidogo, alafu ile ndamu ikitoka tulikuwa tunaamini huyo mtoto hatasumbua na meno.
Between 2023 and 2024, Kibwezi Sub-County Hospital alone received 77 cases of gum cutting, with 5 babies tragically losing their lives. By July this year, the county had recorded 37 admissions related to gum cutting, including 3 deaths.
The mothers don't volunteer the information. It is only from examining that you'll notice that they have done gum cutting. The instruments that are used, what I've said, the thorns and the blades, are not used for one child. You'll find that it's used for many children. So this poses a risk, number 1, for infection because the instruments are not sterile, and number 2, for cross-infection. Children can get infections like HIV and hepatitis.
Phyllis Mwikali and her baby have been here in the hospital for 6 days. Her baby is a victim of this cultural practice, but fortunately, he was lucky to reach the hospital in time.
Ni mother-in-law wangu, so venye aliona situation ya mtoto anahara, kutapika, yeye kwa fikira zake akadhania ni meno. So like alienda akachukua hiyo surgical blade, alinunua, baada hata kuchemsha ile kuboil, akamkata na akagagul na hiyo Ashton.
So they came with diarrhea and vomiting and difficulty in breathing. We put the child on oxygen for 3 days. We also did fluid resuscitation, and we started the child on antibiotics.
The Makueni County government, led by Deputy Governor Lucy Mulili, is actively working with mothers and healthcare facilities to put an end to this harmful practice. The Deputy Governor says it has become a growing burden on the county's health resources.
It's quite concerning when you find a young woman aged 18 or even 20 years at such an age, but again, because of the cultural norms, you find them being compelled by the parents or the older generation to cut the gums of their children.
The Deputy Governor says the county is now looking to introduce a policy that will outlaw this brutal practice, even as they engage reformed gum cutters and community health promoters to reach out to the grassroots levels.
We have lost babies as a result of the practice because they become septic, they have fever, and when you combine that with the malnutrition, because you know this is a food deficient area, it becomes even more acute. When we do the costing of the babies that have been admitted in the various level 4 hospitals, the many days they have stayed, it's a cost.
We advise them on use of warm water that has salt. They can try to nab the gums with a clean cloth, or they can also use the Dentinox gel. And for children who are big, we also advise them to use a carrot. They can give the child a clean carrot, and then the child will bite the carrot, or they use the plastic teethers. But the key emphasis, even as they are doing that, is hand hygiene.
As Makueni County works to end this dangerous tradition, health experts and leaders urge communities to embrace safer modern alternatives for teething. With ongoing efforts to pass legislation, the hope is to protect children and prevent further loss of innocent lives. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Makueni.
Interesting story there, Emily. With the recent wave of sudden fish deaths reported in Lake Victoria, stakeholders are pushing for innovation in the fishing value chain. For years, fish bones, scales and skin have been treated as useless waste, creating environmental hazards while denying fishing communities extra income. But in Kisumu, a 73-year-old grandmother is rewriting that narrative, transforming waste into ornaments, while researchers explore more possibilities for value addition. On this week's Citizen Planet, Laura Otieno uncovers the silver lining in fish waste, an idea that not only protects the environment but also sustains livelihoods.
At Kisumu's Obunga Market, strips of fish skin hang out to dry. Birds of prey circle above, feasting on the strips of fish skin. Buzzing flies betray the otherwise neat facade of the market. As a group of women strip off fish to make the popular Obambo, 73-year-old Nora Agwata is on a mission. What looks like a filthy pile of discarded bones is to her a hidden treasure. She fills a sack with fish bones and heads out to her workshop. For 5 years now, Nora has abandoned fish filleting. When the government shut down open markets during the COVID-19 pandemic, Nora lost her income. And that crisis pushed her to reinvent herself.
Tukaanza kutengeneza, kusafisha kwenye tunafanyia kazi na kuchoma ile mbaya, kuchagua ile naweza tumia. Sasa hapo ndio niligundua mifupa niligundua naweza tengeneza naye study.
I think the quality of the product is quite nice. In terms of people may be worried about the smell, I think Nora's Flowers does a good job in washing the product sufficiently enough for it to not have any smell.
From bones that many discard, she carves delicate earrings and bracelets. Each pair takes up to 3 hours. Her steady hands crafting colorful artifacts that now brighten her workshop. For Nora, the ornaments are more than art. They provide jobs for youth around Kisumu's Manyata estate.
Hata kuna wengine walikuwa wabaya kwa area, lakini vile waliingia kwa hii kazi yangu wakakuwa wazuri. Juu fika jioni atapata kitu ya kukula. Sasa hiyo ndio nilifanya nitie bidii nisaidie vijana.
According to data from the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Institute, Kenya generates an average of 150,000 metric tons of fish waste each year. While the waste is classified as organic, various studies have pointed to the negative impact of fish waste to the environment, which include eutrophication, which causes aquatic weeds such as hyacinth to thrive, as well as oxygen depletion in the water. Compounded with pollution from upstream, scientists are now calling for caution in handling of the waste in order to save the lake and the biodiversity within water systems.
We've mapped about 13 major breeding grounds in the lake. So we are not seeing that these 13 breeding grounds, the surface area that they cover are also shrinking. And they are shrinking. If they are shrinking, they are affecting how much fish is reproducing. And that's why, from our spatial plan point of view, we have to look at the lake in a wholesome way, what we call ecosystem approach to lake management.
However, fish bones are not the only valuable waste products.
Another strategy that we are currently working on.
At the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Institute labs, a display of materials drawn from fish waste are lined up.
Now the oils have been extracted.
Omega oil from fish intestines, gelatin made from fish scales, and pocket of fish skin that can be refined into leather are a few of the items that researchers are saying can be scaled up to enhance the value addition chain of fish.
Yeah, so sometimes we get students here, or even fish farmers have come to us before, or we even invited them and gone out to do the training or the capacity building in terms of utilizing these particular products. So there is need for investment in such cottage industries. Yeah, because these products are here with us, but they remain unexploited. How can we improve the shelf life if it is the oil we've extracted? How long can it take before spoilage and such things? Is there a way you can add value, for example?
Kenya's blue economy sector contributes an estimated 37 billion shillings annually to the gross domestic product. While attending the Blue Economy Conference in Homa Bay, President William Ruto outlined a strategy which aims to raise the output to 150 billion shillings in the next 2 years. Piece by piece, Nora polishes the bone, picked from a heap of what could have been an eyesore and eventual pollutant, getting to the silver lining that could boost the country's blue economy's prospect by strengthening the fish value chain. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
Shabana FC's winning streak has been stopped after they were held to a 1-1 draw by Tusker in a Kenyan Premier League match played at the Kasarani Stadium. At the Dandora Stadium, record champions Gor Mahia bagged their second win of the season. Felix Oluoch struck in the 62nd minute to give coach Charles O'Connor's side a 1-0 victory over KCB. Elsewhere, Kariobangi Sharks edged Mathare United 2-1. Defending champions squeezed a 1-0 win over APS Bomet Bomet and Mara Sugar finally tasted their first sweet victory of the season, beating Ulinzi Stars 2-1.
Huku pesa ikiwa watu wanavuta tu. Ulinzi umefunguliwa sasa. Ben Stanley anapoa tena mali. Anamwekea pembeni kwake Austin sasa. Austin amegusa, amekwenda chini. Mpaima akasema Austin!
Tulitamani sana kushinda hii mechi ili wakati wa mapumziko hii ya dirisha radha kipindi cha mapumziko ya FIFA tukirudi tuwe tuko pale juu, lakini haijafanyika hivyo. Tutazidi tu kupambana pale kwa mazoezi ili tuone ni vipi tutarekebisha hayo.
It's clear that we had chances, but sometimes you have to be satisfied. You know, the fact that we've taken the 3 points, it's okay, but we will have to improve. As I've always said, in the final third where we are able to create chances, sometimes it's difficult to create chances, but if you're able to create chances, we must be clinical in that area, and that is an area we have to improve.
The 2025 Safari Sevens has received a big boost after Kenya Breweries Limited, through its flagship Tusker, announced a 22 million shilling sponsorship. The tournament is set for October the 10th to 12th at the Nyayo National Stadium. This year's event will feature 20 teams of 12 men's and 8 women's. Defending women's champions Costa Blanca Barbarians will headline the international entrance, while Kenya's Shujaa look to defend their title on home soil. The men's confirmed sides include Shujaa, Morans, Apache, French Renegades, Reunion, UK Select, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Shogun, and the 2025 National 7th Circuit champions KCB. In the women's competition, the Kenya Lionesses are joined by the Cubs of Uganda, Zimbabwe, Shogun, Belgium, and defending champions Costa Blanca.
Leaps and bounds. I think what has been also exciting is to see what we've managed to achieve together in this year's local Safari 7th Circuit. There was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of talent showcased. And to what Asati was saying earlier, we're seeing a lot more stronger talent budding and on the pitch. And it's exciting to see the leaps and strides taken not only by the local teams, but also by the Kenya Rugby Union.
Kenya's cricket team, fresh from the ICC Men's T20 World Cup qualifiers in Harare, Zimbabwe, jetted back into the country on Sunday. Kenya finished third after a 51-run win over Tanzania in the fourth playoff, which captain Diren Gondaria leading from the front with a composed 60 at the Harare Sports Club. However, their World Cup dream ended in the semi-finals after a 7-wicket loss, having set a low target of 123. Zimbabwe crowned a perfect run by beating Namibia by 7 wickets in the final, with both teams looking to book their slots at the 2026 ICC Men's T20 World Cup.
We were not clearly sure about the expectations we had, but we knew we were gonna have to be in top 4.
For that, I'm very proud, and the team themselves, they're extremely happy. And we hope that as things get better, we prepare a lot better, and hope that when the next qualifiers come, we will be at the World Cup.
We're not quite where we should be, but we're definitely on the way back. Emphasizing our legitimacy, 2 of our directors, Beryl Oyugi and Tariq Iqbal, attended this just-ended ICC-accredited tournament and held meetings with ICC officials. We continue to be in constant contact and communication with them. We're not imposters, nor do we masquerade to be what we are not.
10 fitness enthusiasts have been officially certified as personal trainers by Beyond Fitness Academy after completing an intensive 6-day silver training course. The comprehensive program went beyond physical training, covering multiple domains such as anatomy, exercise analysis, training science, program design, nutrition, and professional standards. By mastering both the scientific and business sides of the profession, the new trainers are now equipped to thrive in the modern fitness industry, including as coaches.
Fitness is growing, fitness is changing. What people used to do before is not happening right now. And Beyond Fitness has come in to help people grow, those people who are aspiring to be fitness coaches.
I'm very happy about it because now I know the type of clients I'll be able to get. I'll be able to know exactly what is their weakness, what do they want, what is their goal, what do they want to learn from going to the gym.
In the future, we want to build Beyond Fitness Academy. We are now working in Nairobi and in Mombasa in Kenya. We're also working in other countries. Next year, we will start in Kisumu. We will have much more courses on different levels. So this is a silver level course.
Royal Media Services swept the board at the 5th edition of the Sara Cup, bagging gold in men's football, men's volleyball, and the 4x100 meters mixed relay. In football, RMS clinched victory with a 1-0 win over FKF Kikuyu Sub-County, while in volleyball, they fought back from a set-down to edge Usawa 2-1. RMS dominated the 4x100 meters relay with Emmanuel Ocheng's explosive start. Sweeney Jangara and Beryl Oyu's clean exchanges and Nathaniel Minor's strong finish sealing the gold. The tournament also had a greater purpose to raise funds for the Tenda Wema initiative, which provides scholarships and mentorship to marginalized children and youth.
We've been part of Aziz Foundation, a very good program that supports vulnerable children to realize their dream in education. And actually, we, as Express Foundation also, we are partnering with this good organization to help us also support some of the children that we also support in Express Soccer to go to school and also to grow their talent as well.
And it has been growing because there are many more who have this heart to give. Who do we give to? We give to the needy, but those whom society has decided are not bright. Because many fundraisers or many scholarship opportunities are targeted to the bright and needy.
A big congratulations to them. Manchester City moved to 5th in the Premier League, 3 points off leaders Arsenal after a hard-fought 1-0 win over Brentford. Earlier, Jack Grealish's 93rd minute strike gave Everton a 2-1 victory that ended Crystal Palace's 19-game unbeaten run. David Moyes' side are 8th, just 1 point behind 6th-placed Palace. Here is the action.
Buttonjai, who rolls it in, and Everton are level.
All right, before Yulan Zale and myself sign off, it's time to take a look at your feedback on the reports and the interview we've aired tonight. We have Katabez K, who says, why should Kenyans be abducted in Uganda for going to stand in solidarity with a political campaigner? Aren't we good neighbors anymore? And then this is Babu Michael, who says there have been rumors about the ill health of ODM leader Raila Odinga, which is very unfortunate. Our politics shouldn't in any way take such a direction. No one guarantees the health of another but God. It's good Mr. Onyango has cleared the air. This is John Musang, who says, congratulations to COMESA countries for marking 30 years. It is a long journey. Okelo Mwalimu, happy World Teachers Day to all dedicated teachers all over the world. All right, we wish you a good night and a great start to the week. See you as it progresses.